Well, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you for the opportunity to be here to tell a bit about a tool we have developed in Denmark to try to use some of all these data that we collect in our databases. I'm from the Danish Cattle Federation, and just to make sure that everybody knows that that's a farmer-owned organization in Denmark. We have our members are all dairy farmers actually, which will be about 3,500 now in Denmark, with approximately 550,000 dairy cows. And we have that, I guess, lucky situation in Denmark that we only have this one farmer organization, and we have only this one central cattle database. So data will either be in our central database or in the local management system. And actually, it's one of my tasks is try to have them both places. I'm working in a little group. We consider ourselves sitting on the top of this database, and our main task, our main obligation is to get so much usage out of these data as we can in order to make the farmer earn more money. So, about benchmarking. Decision makers need sometimes to be motivated to see that they can do things better. And we have a long tradition to try to do that in the Danish advisory service system. How can we make this guy up here who's taking the decision, making changes if needed here? And you can ask, is it always needed? Yes. You can always do better tomorrow than you did yesterday, and that's probably also necessary. We've tried with a lot of different tools, but from the users, from the farmers and the advisors, these three questions seem to come up all the time. How well do the best herds perform? What is the potential in my herd? And where is the potential in my herd? So we found out that these were probably the main motivator to do changes in the management. So these increasing needs or even demands came from the farmers and advisors, and we decided to try to build this more dynamic benchmarking tool. It wasn't like we didn't have a benchmarking tool in Denmark. We different kind of reports from the cattle database did benchmarking against the average in the country, or even by your own results last year. But it wasn't very flexible, so we started back in 2001 to build the system. And released it in 2001 with 25 key figures. It has developed over the years, so we today have 340 key figures, and has been very popular. When you look at the usage in 2011, we could see that the farmers, about 20% of the dairy farmers has downloaded at least one report in 2011, and the advisors users, and that's both the feeding production advisors and the veterinarians, they had downloaded at least one report for 83% of the dairy farms in 2011. So it has gone quite popular, and it's also kind of a business demand that is the reason why we have developed all these key figures. Just a few words about the data sources. As I said, we only have this one cattle database, and we get data in that from very many sources: mandatory recordings, voluntary recordings, milk recording from all these service suppliers, laboratories, dairies, slaughterhouses, etc.
Sorry, I'm just going to interrupt just for a moment. Johannes doesn't know this. I've just been given a note that the beef tour is leaving in 5 minutes. So anybody going on the beef tour, the beef tour bus is leaving in in 5 minutes, so Johannes has 2 minutes to go. Sorry to interrupt, Johannes.
I'm going on it there too. Okay, just the picture we like to show on our cattle database. We have the cattle database in the center. We have the different kind of services around it, and just for here I would mention like the AI data. As soon as the technician has done his job on the farm, he presses a button on a PDA, and the data will be in the cattle database. Another thing that's maybe somehow different in Denmark is that we get data from veterinarians. We get clinical data, we get diagnosis, and we get medicine usage. So we have that in the cattle database as well. Another thing is important to mention that what we have in the database is raw data. Raw data can change. You can have made an wrong type in of a date or something, so they will change. But they are not very valuable in itself. So we transform them to these key figures by a lot of data mining, and they are recalculated once or twice per month, depending on which key figure we're talking about. So they are ready for benchmarking. We are actually working on making it possible to recalculate every night. So, what is the benchmarking system? We have sort of 4 different types, what we call check types. That's ordinary benchmarking, quantile or percentile analysis. We have focus hertz, and we have discussions groups. I won't have time to show you the focus hertz and the discussion groups, but I'll concentrate on the 2 first. Here's an example of a benchmarking. The report, and as you can see on the style, it's not that new. It is, as I said, developed 10 years ago. The first thing we do is we can see we have the hertz in the control group or the comparison group. And the criteria to select the hertz for the comparison group. This is Holstein Friesian. That's the only selection done here. We have the different key figures. I'll get back to how we select them. And we have the achieved key figures on the specific farm. You see it's got 133 cows, milk yield the last 12 months on 10,500 kilogram milk. And we have the comparison group, see what they have achieved. And we have a group of what we call the best of the comparison group. This is the 5% best of the comparison group. So the farmer can here compare his results to these 2 groups. Some more figures we have in this benchmarking as example as meat production, reproduction, health, and even the quality of silage. When we're talking quality of silage, we have done that. This is an indicator for digestibility of the silage. We calculated an index over the different kind of silage he may have on the farm, and not surprisingly, so the comparison group, they have an average of 100. Our farmer here, he has an average of 103. So his silage is a little better than the average, but the comparison group, they have on 106, so they're doing even better on the silage production. Another thing you can see is total diseases per animal per year. It's quite a high figure here compared to the comparison group, but this is a key figure you have to be aware of, because the limit for when you record a disease might differ from farmer to farmer and even from veterinary to veterinary. Just a few words about how to set up this benchmarking. You can either use a default standard method, you can edit a standard and make it your own, or you can set up a completely new one. We have about 20 standard methods within the within yield, breeding, economy, health, welfare, and feeding. I should mention here that it's not all the farmers that have key figures on feeding and economy. It depends if they are putting data in. Here's a picture. It is the setting up picture that is in Danish, because I didn't have time to translate it. But just to show you the process, you're setting up the criteria for your comparison group, and you can choose as many key figures to select that comparison group. You select your key figures between these 340 key figures. You can set up you can choose how many should be in the best of the comparison group, and you can put in goals, or you could put in a reference period for your own results. And the same just in words. When you're setting up the comparison group, there is, as I said, free choice in all the key figures to select this comparison group: breed, yield, cell count, disease recording, quality of feed, whatever. You can choose the key figures, which and how many, and you can set up the best of the comparison group either by number or percentage. The only rule we have, you need at least 5 hertz in the comparison group and in the best, because we don't want to show. If we go further down, you might see who it is, and you can set the reference period and the goals. So now I will show you a couple of examples. This is an example where I put in a reference period. I'll go down to that one. The reference period is the last, the 12 months before the last 12 months. And here you can see that his production results was, as we saw before, 10,500, but he has done 256 kilograms better the last 12 months than the 12 months before. And other examples, the reproduction. You can see about the calving time for the first calving. It's gone a bit down, but it still has a higher calving age than the best of the comparison group. Then I've tried to filter it more down. Now I say I want the herds with more than 10,500 kilograms of milk, and I want herds with lower than, I think it was 150 in somatic cell count. What are they doing? See, now there's only 91 herds in the comparison group. And I did something about the best. Now I only have 10 hertz in the best of the comparison group, and here you can see that they're really doing well on yield, and surprisingly, they also have a high number of cows in their herds. So it doesn't have to be bad on yield, even though you have a high number of cows. Yeah, I think I took that one. Then to the quantile analysis, which is set up actually the same way. You choose you choose a criteria to have this group where you put in the 20. I was thinking put in the 25% quantile and the 75% quantile. And here, just so we can see what is the, I should say the hertz figure achieved is still the same hertz as we've seen in all the examples. That he's doing pretty good even to the 75% quantile. Another key figure we show here is that we have two key figures. We say how do first lactation cows do compared to third and more lactation cow, and how do second lactation cow do compared to third and more lactation cows. And here you can see that the first lactation cow they do 82% as good as the third lactation cow when you are talking about average milk yield. But the second lactation cow, they're actually doing just as good as the third lactation cow. Just an example. And we go further on this this quantile analysis. We can see that, as I mentioned before, this number of diseases per year, he's really high compared to the comparison group. But even on mastitis, he's high compared to the comparison group. I think I'll skip that one. We know that some people, they are not that keen on looking on all these tables, so for a lot of the key figures, we show them as graphs, and this is just one example from the quantile analysis with somatic cell count. Here you can see the 75% and 25% quantile, and you can see the results from this farm the last 12 months. Sort of the same on fat and protein, but I don't think we'll spend more time. So, summary. We call this a dynamic and flexible benchmarking system. We have these 340 key figures, recalculation once or twice per month, flexible to use. You can use the default methods or you can set up your own. And it's very popular among farmers, advisors, vets, and others, even the economical advisors and the field plant production advisors, they actually use this system as well. So I guess this was about our benchmarking system. I've seen a few other very good ideas during these 4 days at this conference, and I can see there's a lot of good things going on around. And I hope this will be an opportunity to be even better to exchange experiences on this. I will anyway. I will be very happy to discuss it more with any of you. So you're always welcome to contact me. So, and yeah,
Thank you very much, Johannes.